Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing out here in these breasty, lovely lands? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. First and foremost, I just want to make sure that everyone is very aware that we know this was the elephant in the room for a very long time, and we are trying our very hardest to make sure that that's not the case. And with Ericka's work that she's been doing and Kim's research that she's been doing, it's very important that we get to talk about this out in the open. So I want to start with Katie, and ask you about post-diagnosis, I guess you will. How do you feel your version of self-love is now?
I think it's ever changing. It goes through waves. I got comfortable with my post-mastectomy body, and through, I think, a lot of help from the Breasties in general, and just learning that it's okay to be okay in your own skin again. And then, I am newly postpartum. I have a 5-month-old little miracle baby girl. Thank you. I'm back in that learning to love myself again, and it takes work. You can't just magically flip a switch and love your body again. You have to put in the work, spend time with yourself, and get yourself in the mood, whether that's a glass of wine or, a little something, and, spend time with yourself to get reacclimated. Spend time in front of the mirror, touch your scars, appreciate them for what they gave you. They gave you this life that you're living, and you should appreciate them.
Beautiful. I love that answer. Thank you. Ericka, how about you? How do you feel about the tools that bring you to that self-love perspective?
Sure. I'm just going to complicate the question just a little bit. I felt pressured into this concept or idea of self-love post-mastectomy. I felt like everybody was asking me, well, how do you feel about your body now? And I'm like, well, I haven't arrived anywhere, right? And it feels like this question is more for you to be comfortable about how I feel about my body than how I actually feel about it. Yeah. And I don't think that we have to love our bodies, right? I think that's great if that's what you want to do, but sometimes you're frustrated. Sometimes you're annoyed. Sometimes you're grieving. Sometimes you're angry. Sometimes you don't think about your body at all. It's completely neutral. And I think there's a lot of focus on folks who have chronic illnesses, disabilities, who are fat, who are queer. There's always this push for us to love our bodies without any system changing, right? And I'm really interested in us really complicating desirability politics, us disrupting what is seen as beautiful and what is not, right? People actually having what it is that they need. So I think post-mastectomy, I was really constantly fighting with insurance companies, right? I wasn't necessarily thinking like, do I look good in this? I was just like, am I gonna get health care or not, right? I know that I'm still gonna have an orgasm regardless, right? And can I get some health care, right? Can I go to the doctor without having to do, right? I feel like, hello, that's really sexy, right? To be able to get the care that you need on your own terms.
Healthcare is hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Healthcare is real.
It's hot.
Healthcare is real hot.
It's hot. And right now in this country, we're not getting that. So I think sometimes the question is oftentimes pointed to us, and the onus is on us to love ourselves when that is so complicated and just an everyday moment, right? And I'm moving more towards body neutrality as a politic. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Kim, how do you feel about this in regards to, turning it back off of that? And then from a scientific perspective, how do you feel that works?
Yeah, I think listening to what you were both saying about self-love, I think part of it is, do you even feel comfortable? Is your vagina, if that's what you're going through, is it atrophied? Is it dry? Does it hurt when you're engaging in intimacy with your partner? And so a place to start can be your vaginal health itself. Moisturization. You know, I talked to many of you through our one-on-ones or the Ask Me Anything or at the booth if you came by about non-hormonal vaginal moisture, that even if you're on estrogen, if it's not enough, you can use hyaluronic acid products, lactic acid-based products to help bring more moisture and comfort to that space for yourself, walking around during the day, making sure that you feel comfortable, but also can help build tissue resilience and also make it more comfortable when you are engaging in intimacy, if you choose to do that. So it's a place, we can talk more about this, but it's a place to start, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. That's very beautiful. And in regards to, everyone having a different story, everyone having a different path, and neutrality in particular, how are you individually making that happen for yourself and actually putting it towards the people that we're looking at, not necessarily putting it back on us, like you said, Ericka? How are we pushing it back? How are we doing that?
Is that to me?
Yeah, that's you.
And the question is, how are we directing that towards outside of us?
Yeah.
I mean, in my work in particular, I speak a lot about systems of oppression and how structures like ableism, anti-blackness, fat phobia, continuation of genocide even, right, are all bound up in a conversation of desirability politics, and the fact that we live in a country that only less than 100 years ago was actively discarding disabled people, right? Under the ugly laws, disabled and chronically ill people were not even able to go outside, right? So I think it's important for us to push up against this idea of who is desirable, but do it inside of the politic, right? And beyond, that's why I say it's beyond loving yourself, because if we're being completely frank, desirability politics are a matter of life and death, right? Who gets to live and who dies has a lot to do with how you're seen in terms of what's beauty, what your proximity is to that. So I think it's important to constantly be calling that out to ensure that everybody gets the care and the love and the support and the community that they need, not just because they look like something that pedophiles created 400 years ago. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
Yes. So I think another important thing too is forcing the subject. How many of you here were never told that vaginal atrophy was a potential side effect of chemo? Almost everyone. For example, my story is a little different. I have a very supportive partner at home who was with me throughout all of my treatment. We even fast-tracked our wedding to 2 weeks after my first chemo session because I wanted to call him my husband, not my fiance, and we tried to be intimate on our wedding night 2 weeks after chemo, and I ended the night in tears because it felt like shards of glass. Why did no one tell me that was going to happen, So force that subject with your oncologist, with your nurse navigator, with your fellow breasties. Talk to people about it. It's okay to ask for a different care team even. My original oncologist was an old white man. I didn't want to talk to him about that, so I requested a new, younger female oncologist, and we bridged that subject, We got to talk about it and how it could affect things, what possible solutions there are. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to your oncologist, maybe send them a MyChart message. Start that conversation earlier so that maybe they'll approach the subject so that you don't have to, come up with the question while you're in the exam room.
I think that's a great point. And from the medical field, Kim, do you see people wanting to come and ask questions and make the changes, or do you see them kind of pushing back and not wanting to go forward with the question?
Yeah, so, I was telling some people this weekend, a paper I read, 70% of oncologists know that vaginal atrophy is going to be a consequence of the therapy that you have to go through, but they don't talk about it because they're uncomfortable talking about it, number one, and number two, they don't have good solutions because the solutions are often not medical products. They're not RX drugs. They're moisturization products. Vaginal estrogens, if you can use them, work wonderfully for many people, and that's sufficient. But sometimes, and I've been hearing this weekend, vaginal estrogen isn't enough because of the symptoms that you're having. And so this is why Good Clean Love is here, because we make over-the-counter products that help to moisturize the vagina. There are many other brands out there too, and so you can look for hyaluronic acid and lactic acid-based products. All of them help to support the healthy vaginal environment, can help moisturize the tissues, and work in concert with any of the medications you're using because they're non-hormonal and they're first-line therapies for vaginal atrophy in cancer patients.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And what does it mean for you individually? And I'll start with you, Katie. Just being in not a new place, not a fresh place, but seeing yourself in this arena and wanting to be different in the way you're looking at yourself. Not because anyone's asking you, but because you can, and not because of any other reason, just because of that. What does that feel like?
It's hard to say because I think it's such a taboo subject. No one wants to talk about it, especially with what I like to call my cancer muggles, my non-cancer friends. It's my cancer muggles. It's not a subject that's easily talked about. And I think the most important thing you can do for yourself is, like I said before, take time with yourself. Learn what feels good for you. And if you have a partner, express that to them. Coach them through it, I'm sure a lot of us, used to have nipples. Nipple stimulation was great. R.I.P. my nipples. We had to learn new ways to stimulate me specifically. And my husband has been great, but a lot of people don't have that trusting partner or are out in the dating field and don't feel comfortable exploring that with someone else. Explore it with yourself first, and then learn to be comfortable expressing that to other people.
Ericka, how about you?
Yeah, I think living with a chronic illness, disability, it really weeds out losers.
Yeah.
Right? Very quickly. I remember when I was newly divorced and I got back on the dating scene and I was on dating apps after they had been around for, 6 or 7 years. And I'm like, do you swipe right or left or what do you do? And I got into a conversation with, I'm queer, so this other queer person. And yeah, shout out to the queers. Yeah. Hey queers, happy Pride. And they said, hey, can we send each other a nude? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a freak, sure. So they sent me a nude, and then I sent them me topless. And then after I sent them that, we have been going back and forth a lot, they stopped responding. And at first, I was pissed, right? I'm like, why is this happening? I can't believe, and this is before I'm topless on the internet, nobody has seen me. And it's not like, oh, you're that girl, right? But then it was like, well, I don't want to date somebody who can't affirm somebody's body in all the various ways they exist, right? So thank you, for ghosting me in this conversation because I'm not interested. And I think there's an opportunity here when your body is different from what is perpetuated in the media of what is quote unquote norm, right? Because our bodies are normal, right? Yeah. Whatever the hell that means, they are not normal. But I think that it's important in our sexual relationships and our romantic relationships to constantly be in a conversation that is rooted in and around consent. Yeah. Right? And consent looks like, does this still feel good to you? Right? So regardless if you have cancer or not, these are conversations that we need to normalize, right? Did it feel good that I sucked on your scars, right? Is that something that you're interested in? Could I do something maybe next time with your butt, right? Like, what are some of the ways that we can explore this? What feels good? There's a really great tool called a yes, no, maybe list that comes out of the BDSM community. And it has a laundry list of different activities. And I always recommend that to people to do in a vanilla type space, maybe at a coffee shop or something. Not with candles lit and it's about to get freaky, because you will say yes to things that you're not saying yes to, right? So really just make it basic. But I just think that these are things that everybody should be doing, right? It is not necessarily particular to folks that are chronically ill and disabled, but it's a way that we've been taught that sex is just supposed to be, and we're just supposed to do it, and it's supposed to feel good. But how many people with vulvas are not having orgasms, right? Because they don't actually know that the clitoris holds that much nerve endings, right? Like, that's so many people with breast cancer or not.
Can I quote Ericka Hart from Noon today? Do more butt stuff.
Do more butt
100%.
stuff. Do more butt stuff.
Yeah.
My husband will be so excited to hear this.
and what I wanted to say, what I missed saying at Noon is do it safely, right? Do not stick anything in your butt that does not have a flared base, okay? Do not try experimenting with stuff that, like a pencil or a cucumber or a frozen hot dog, because guess where you will be? The ER. Okay?
The ER.
You don't want that, all right? You can look up things stuck in butts before you play with your butt. All right?
Yeah. We'll send a picture list of what
not to do. Only safe things. A body as a flared base. All anal toys have flared bases. Yes.
Yeah. And now, Kim, how do you think?
How do you segue? And now, Kim, how do you play with your butt?
And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Tell us some more.
Well, I feel really great about that, and I agree.
And like, is your partner here? Can we talk to them?
I think he's sleeping in the car waiting for me.
Probably safe.
But he would agree with everything you said. Except also he can be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Everybody has a butt for the most part.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think what reminded me of my own personal experience as an aging woman and going through perimenopause. I'm in the late stages of that. My own libido has been fluctuating over time, and so my desire for my partner has changed and continues to change, and it's always different. So I've come to just be used to that now. I'm going to be different every day, maybe. So it's your mental health. Where are you mentally? Are you interested in this? Do you even want to be intimate with a partner? And partly because I am married to a man who does have a high sex drive, that's how he feels, sort of intimate with me, is through sexual intercourse. And so if I'm not in the mood and it went on for a long period of time, I thought, what can I do to encourage myself to be more interested and engaged in this and give him what he needs? So I started reading romance novels, including BDSM romance novels.
We have a serious breasty book situation here. We're going to add to that list of books that make it a little more saucy.
I do need more. I read all of them, so I always need more recs. But exactly. And discovering about BDSM and different kinds of ways to engage in sex and intimacy was super interesting to me. And I learned a lot about myself just by reading these books and engaging. And if I didn't like it, I put it down and I found something else. And I just continued to explore and to be curious about what I could get into. And that really helped me a lot.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and when I thought about that, I wanted to ask, has anyone on our panel watched Build a Sex Room on Netflix? Build a Sex Room?
Oh,
No?
actually, I have.
No? Okay.
I have seen it.
Okay.
Is it good?
It's really good. I think it's a conversation opener.
It seems like a class conversation, because how much does this cost?
No.
Note to husband, add to our list on Netflix, please.
Build a Sex Room. They're not sponsoring this, so I'm just doing that for them for free. So just so everyone knows. No, it's a really good, I think, education for us all to just be more aware. Bless you. How does everyone here feel about the individuality that comes with take sex off the table? Just being intimate with ourselves. How do you feel that that's something that you can engage in? And where does that come from right now? Or just in general, not right now?
I think there's different ways to do it, you know? For example, over a year ago, I believe, I set up a date for myself for postpartum to do a boudoir photo shoot. That is not for anyone. That is not for my husband. That is not for my friends. That is not for my family. That's for me to feel comfortable. I want to feel comfortable in my own skin again. And what better way than to get all dolled up and take some sexy photos? You don't need to pay a boudoir photographer to do this either. Set up a tripod in your room, prop up your phone on a water bottle, use a timer to take some nice photos of yourself. I'm sure there's plenty of ideas on Pinterest. You can kind of scroll through, get some ideas, take some pictures. You're gonna feel fantastic about yourself, you know? And maybe that'll get you in the mood to learn more about your own body, you know?
Thank you. How about you, Ericka?
I think that's good to do at any moment, right? That, you know, again, consent is so fundamental to any sexual relationship, whether you be dating somebody for 2 days or married for 20 years, right? So I think if that is something that you need for yourself, you want to take it off the table, it should just come off the table, right? And I think, shout out to asexuals, right? Like, asexuals exist, there are asexual survivors, right? And I think it's important to be inside of a conversation that we get to have intimacy in various ways, right? It doesn't have to look like the act of sex, but maybe it's us laying on the couch watching that television network that shall not be named because they are not sponsoring, right? Like, maybe, you know, maybe it is watching a really good movie. Maybe it's you rubbing my butt, right? Maybe it's you rubbing my feet at the end of the day. Maybe we just started dating and you pay one of my bills. That's hot.
Yeah. You empty the dishwasher?
I'm aroused just thinking about that, right? So I think that pleasure has to look so many different ways. I think we need to get creative, right? And I think as a person that is in the kink community, kink oftentimes, it can involve the act of sex, but a lot of times it doesn't, right? And there's a great deal of pleasure from impact play, from even needle play, from doctor play, right? And reclaiming that as well as another space of pleasure in honoring your body. So I think there's so many ways to access intimacy and pleasure that we just have to be way more creative. Everything does not have to be about the act of sex. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think to add to that too, intimacy doesn't always have to be surrounded by arousal. It doesn't have to be anything like that. You know, giving a foot rub. Like, one of my most intimate memories of my husband is when he shaved my head when I was going through cancer. I felt so close to him and so intimate with him in that moment. So whatever it looks like for you, learn that, define that for yourself, and communicate that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Kim, how about you?
I think the thing that's coming to mind to me is, you know, the idea of responsive desire. And Ericka, you probably know much more about this than I do, but, you know, I experienced this. You know, I've been with my partner now for 30 years. You know, we dated for a long time, and we've been married almost 20 years. And I'm not aroused in the same way he is. And so it's like when he does the dishes, like it happened a couple weeks ago, I'm like, that made me very horny. And then he was very happy about that. And he's like, I always do the dishes. And I'm like, I know, but this time it made me horny. So, you know, it's this idea of engaging with your partner, and it doesn't need to be sexual intercourse. And talking also about, you know, your vaginal health if you have a vagina. You know, if it's uncomfortable having intercourse in that way, explore intimacy in other ways, as Ericka said, because it can be, you know, it can be masturbating together, it can be just touching, all of the things that, you know, we've been discussing up here. It doesn't need to be the way that society describes, you know, this is what sex is. So that's how I look at it myself.
And just gonna add to that last part, sex should never hurt unless you want it to.
Exactly.
Sex should never hurt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She wanted to, consensually.
Unless consent has been given.
That's right.
Then we're good. Yeah. And then in regards to other, we're not going to talk about, obviously, oncology. I always joke that, my oncologist is not getting as much as I'm getting. So they don't want to talk about it. And like we talked about, in general, whether it be by myself or with someone else, I'm just getting more. So in regards to that, like, how do we go to look for those people that are pelvic floor therapists, that are, what are the options that you all have found that work for you, that are outside of that particular individual to get you to that headspace from a medical perspective? Whoever wants to answer first.
I think, to be honest, I've yet to find that, good pelvic floor physical therapist. I got referred to one just recently. I went to a session and she did the internal exam and she basically came out saying, you need to do more Kegels. And I'm like, okay, don't we all? But I talked to a Breastie this weekend about if you find the right pelvic floor physical therapist, maybe one that unfortunately isn't covered by insurance, but find the right one who's going to teach you about the different muscles and, different ways to engage that in order to make things feel better for you. That's my homework for once I get back from camp.
I'm also relatively newly postpartum, 3 years now. And I would say right now, sex looks like we have sex on vacation. And I think why that is so common, I think with other parents as well, is because there's no stressor. Right? You don't have to necessarily worry about the kid if you're not on vacation with your kid. You don't have to worry about all the work and going to daycare or going to school and getting a lunch together and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, what can you do in your life to create that vacation ideal, right? And a big aspect of that for me is acupuncture. So going to acupuncture, it is much older than Western medicine. Eastern medicine is thousands of years old, right? I think it is a major way for me to relax and take stress off of my body. I credit acupuncture for even getting pregnant in the first place. So I think acupuncture, going to my therapist, like actually being able to talk about the things that are on my mind so that I can have ease to maybe if stuff is gonna go down or have connection with my partner, then we're gonna do that. But I think I need to do those things throughout the week to really care for myself so that I can be fully present for myself or for, the person I'm in relationship with.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Kim, how about you?
Yeah, I think, I was thinking about this before about, sort of resources to provide, the community. And I think this idea of, if your oncologist or your gynecologist aren't able, or you're not able to talk to them, maybe seeing a urogynecologist. They're much more familiar with talking about these types of conditions and, and your sexuality and how that's impacted by atrophy. So that's, one thing to think about. The other is, there's an organization that, I've been to a few meetings of theirs, which is amazing, and we call it ISHWISH, but it's the International Society of Sexual Wellness and Sexual Health. These providers, this is what they do all day long, and they care very much about our sexual health and wellness. And you can go to their website. They have a list of providers per state, so you can find somebody there that you can talk to very specifically. I think that would be a great resource for this community, too.
ASEC, too, the American Association of Sex Therapists and Sex Educators, also should have a list of sex therapists and sex educators.
Okay, beautiful. No, that's great. Okay, so now that we're into that realm, what is the best thing that you are doing for yourself in your sexual health? Besides that.
Masturbation.
Masturbation.
Yes,
100%.
a long-time friend, yes. Yes. Like, I think if that is something that feels good to you, that you want to do, 100,000%. And I think another resource, too, is sex toy shops, right? Like, people that, a good one.
Yeah.
A good one, not a seedy one, right? So a Babeland, a good vibes, right? Going to one where you can actually talk to somebody who's knowledgeable in what you potentially could want to explore. Lube is a sex toy, right? So you don't have to buy a vibe. No, your genitals are not going to deplete from the vibrator. They're not going to just want the vibrator. Nothing is better than flesh. Don't worry, go to town.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the best vibrator, but that's just opinion.
They're also
that's
not
just
sponsoring
opinion.
us
They're
yet.
not sponsoring, so
Not
I won't
yet.
say nothing.
Not yet.
I won't say that. I won't say the best vibe.
yeah.
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
I'm going to echo that. Buy more toys, you know. There's such a range of prices of toys, too. So there's always going to be one that's accessible to you. You don't have to buy, what was it, Jamil, the $3,000
It was
toy?
actually $15,000, but we'll start with $3,000.
$15,000 toy?
$15,000.
What does it do?
We'll talk about it later. I
It
didn't
better
get to
do my
try
dishes and my laundry.
Is it gold?
It steams your clothes and then it does that.
It
and then
better-
gives
it better
you
do all of
all
that.
kinds of extra love when you need it.
Do
I don't
not
know.
buy that. Nobody's buying
You still have
that.
to plug it in and charge it, so I don't think it really does.
We're back to
everything.
the class conversation.
Exactly. Back to class. A free toy.
Yes, hands are free.
Yes, exactly. And Kim and Good Clean Love, how does that work in that realm? Like how?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, is talking about lubricants, right? It's like you find solutions to, if you have dryness or irritation and you want to engage and you want to play with toys, find the right products for you. There's many different options out there. There are products that are, like I said, with HA, hyaluronic acid. There's dimethicone lubricants if you need more of a slippage. There's all kinds of options. Remain curious. If you're interested in this and you have an inkling of, I want to be more engaged with my intimate self. I want to know more about myself. Now, this is why I got into, I remain curious. I'm a researcher, so I'm curious about everything. So if I explored all the different realms of sexuality and what am I into, and then I find what I like, and then I explore that further. And so, there are many options out there. I realize, it might not be clear always which one is the best one for me, but just try different things until you find what's right for you, because it's not one size fits all. Different things work for different people, and so it depends on your body and where you are and what you want to be doing. So, I think this idea of all is not lost. If you don't have desire today, you're not interested at all, that could be something, remains, and that's fine. You can remain asexual, as Ericka said. But if you do have some thoughts of I want to get back into it, or have a partner that I want to engage with, just be open and honest if you can. As we've been talking about, engage in conversation. How do you feel? That is intimacy at its core, is being honest with yourself and with each other, and then finding solutions that work for you both so that you can get to the place you want to be together, or by yourself, if that's the case.
That's amazing. And how are we all doing this every single? Is it something that we should be concerned about every day, or is it something that you can ebb and flow with this as far as your sexual health? How do you feel like that's working out with you, Katie?
I think it's important to lean into the ebbs and flows. You're not going to be in the mood every day. And if you are, bravo, go nuts, right? But it ebbs and flows for me, and I have learned to just kind of go with the flow. If I'm not in the mood one day, that's okay. I have a lot going on. I have a lot on my mind, stressors and everything. I do think it's important, however, to if it's been a while that you're in that valley, that you haven't peaked again. Take a minute to think about, why am I not in the mood? Is there something that I can address elsewhere in my life that is affecting my mood and my libido?
Yeah, I would say similar to that. Sexual health is inextricable to overall health. So I think we're always in that conversation of thinking about that, of thinking about our bodies. Wholly, I think being in a conversation around how you feel about your body neutrality, what are some things that you're up against, like people live in communities without clean water, right? Without clean air. These are all sexual health issues, right? Not counting, like we've been inundated with this idea that if you have sex 4 times a week, you're in a healthy relationship, right? Or if you have sex 800 times a week, that's amazing. Like, does any of that have consent, right? The amount of times that you consent to having sex is the amount of times that you should be having sex, right? And period, right? There's nothing else about that. But I think sexual health, the overall, is really just intersects with so many other aspects of life.
Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree completely. I think many of us have experienced like stress or just life. All of the things that we have to do to live in this world today can take away from having the energy or that develops that desire. And be gentle with yourself. If you mentally want to do it and your partner does too or not, if you just can't, that's okay. And just be gentle. Your body we're evolving all the time, constantly changing. I feel one way one day, the next day I feel differently. So I've learned to just go with the flow, as Katie's saying. I don't feel it right now. And so, but if it goes on too long, it becomes an issue, for my partner. And so how can I feel comfortable with myself, engage with myself, but also not give in and make sure that I feel I want to do this. I am consenting to, enjoying this experience with you now. And if I don't, and I have gone through periods of time where my libido was just dead. And it was very challenging to navigate that emotionally, interpersonally, and it required open conversation. And this is what I'm experiencing. It's not a rejection of you because I am in a partnership, but it feels that way sometimes for your partner. And so, but I had to get to the right place. And so, as I told you, I remained curious about how could I get there? What are the tools? What's interesting to me that I've never experienced before or discovered? And so now I have all kinds of toys, and I have a closet full of things because I experience different things. You just try stuff, and just, again, be gentle with yourself, and don't get hard on yourself just because you're not getting where you may mentally want to be.
And if you have a partner, give them that job. It's you. If you're in the mood and I'm not, it's your job to get me in the mood.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that partner is pressuring you, break up with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Divorce.
Bye-bye.
Seriously.
Bye-bye.
There's just so much coercion that we don't discuss, right? That we've normalized in relationships. And it's just so imperative that we are in relationships that affirm who we are and our yes and our no and our maybe.
Yeah. And how, for yourself and for people that are in relationships or non-relationships or just getting out of relationships, how is the best way to direct traffic in that regard? Because you want to be thoughtful about telling someone, including yourself, how to get there. So how are you navigating that?
I think just take the time and, be gentle with your partner. Explain to them, hey, this doesn't feel good right now. Make sure that you don't have other distractions. Like we had to put the baby monitor away for a little bit, just to make sure that you are fully present in that moment so that you can feel comfortable speaking your mind and telling them what feels good and what doesn't.
I would say writing things out, right? Like, what is it that you need for your body, and writing that down and giving it to people, right? That maybe potentially you're gonna hook up. Like, let's sit down and go over this, right? If we're gonna do this, let's cover it. And you've already, because you can be really interested in somebody and then forget a lot of the things that you need in that moment. So I think writing things down and going over it with another person, making sure that they understand, I think makes for a much more pleasurable experience. But you may also, this thing keeps running away from me, you may also want to talk them through it, right? Like maybe that's what you're into. Cool, right? But I think it's important to maybe journal about what it is that you need to.
Kim, how?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I keep coming back to this idea of, or this concept of just being honest with your partner or yourself, whoever it is, about what you need. And that it's okay to use a vibrator during sex if you need that to orgasm. It's okay to use lubricant multiple times during the act. Stop in the middle, add more, right? It's not that it's this TV. Exactly, it's not porn at all. That's totally unrealistic, as I think most of us know. But what is sexy to you can be very different than somebody else, and to engage with that conversation with your partner if you have one, and help them understand that it's not about them if you need something to feel good yourself, because it can sometimes feel that way to the partner, or they maybe make you feel that way, like, I'm not good enough, you need all these other things. But I think this is real life, and we're all unique, we're all on a journey, and we evolve every day. Like, things can change from weeks to the following weeks, right? So it's not always the same, but just being able to be open about it. Intimacy, again, I keep coming back to it, is about honesty, and about being honest with yourself and anyone you want to engage with sexually, and having that conversation is very sexy, right? Consent is sexy, as we've been saying.
Yes.
We'll also add one more thing that this kind of sparked, Kim, what you were saying. Maybe even tandem masturbation. Show them what you like. Maybe put their hand on top of yours while you're doing it. Show them what you want.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. And then we were talking about earlier, sending a private message through the patient portal. What about when we don't get the right answer for that? When we don't get an answer at all?
Push back.
Right?
Cancer has given me a voice. I used to be such a people pleaser. I would bend over backwards to not inconvenience anyone. And now I'm like, well, screw you guys. I'm more important. And so push back. If you can't give me this answer and you can't provide me the help that I need, who can?
I don't know if you know the specific numbers, but I think oncologists get in medical school in general, they get 25% or very small numbers, 4 hours in total of sex education. So I don't expect them to know anything, right? That was a illuminating thing for me to realize when I was diagnosed, that they literally are not stepping over it completely. But I don't want advice from somebody who doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about either. So I think, unfortunately, because our system is so ableist, which asserts that we aren't interested in pleasure and desire, I think you have to go and demand those answers from folks, like you said. Like, where can I get this information? Where can I get more resources? Because that also helps the next person who also needs to know that, right? So, but then I also think, spaces like this, right? And getting resources from other fellow breast cancer survivors. And I think that's also incredibly helpful.
Kim?
Yeah, I mean, what you said, Ericka, is absolutely true. I don't know the exact number either, but the idea also is they don't get taught really about vaginal microbiome health at all either. No. And so your microbiome is a part of the sort of immune function of your vagina, and as we age and if we have vaginal atrophy, that microbiome is disrupted. And so your gynecologist or oncologist might know, oh, I'm getting bacterial vaginosis over and over and over. They keep giving you antibiotics, but actually we need to restore the good bacteria. And this is a really leading edge emerging field. It shouldn't be, because we've known this for a long time, but it still is. And in the medical world, there are no RX solutions to restore your natural vaginal microbiome. There are, as you I'm sure have seen, over-the-counter products, cosmetics, various medical devices that can help reconstitute vaginal health. And so these microorganisms are also anti-inflammatory. So they can help if you have really irritated raw tissue in your atrophy. It can also help calm the tissue, calm the area, because that's what they normally do. And so, it's this idea of just understanding your body better. You can research this on the internet. There's lots of information out there now, but you have to do it yourself, unfortunately, because most of your physicians aren't going to be very aware of it. And, there's a small community, though, that do. And so they treat these various recurring infections like recurring UTIs, recurring bacterial vaginosis, recurring candida. It's often linked to the lack of the good bacteria that you have in your vagina. So it's just something to be aware of also.
Well, thank you all for this time. I really, really, truly appreciate it. We're going to take some questions from the audience. Jamie's over there for anyone that wants to raise their hand or just have her come and give you a mic.
not sure if this is a question that you guys can answer, but I somehow got it in my head that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so, like, when I was put on tamoxifen, like, out the gate, I was like, give me the vaginal estrogen. But now things have changed, and I have to be on an anastrozole, and I have to have, anyways. So in terms of the atrophy of, like, vaginal atrophy, clitoral atrophy, and all of that, is that just something I made up where, like, should I be masturbating every single day to work the muscle, or because I'm like, oh gosh, I've got this trip, and anyways. I don't have my toys with me. So, and again, like, I just announced to everybody that
We all have choice.
No, it was more just
And
like
there's
the
travel
frequency
sizes.
and
You don't have to masturbate
Who's
every
in
day.
Jamil's cabin?
Like, have you been to my cabin?
is
You can
that-
shop in there if you want. I know what you're talking about.
But my question is it true, or is this just a misconception or something I put in my head that, if you're doing it often, that you have less of a chance of that atrophy happening, or maybe that's like a medical question, I don't know.
Yeah, so it is the case that with respect to the vaginal opening and the muscles and all of that, it can start to close in on itself, right? And so this is why we have vaginal dilators, and there are pelvic floor therapists. This is what you're doing, strengthening those muscles, keeping them active. It is true that you need to engage them, just like the rest of your body. It's just something that if you start to have those experiences where like the opening gets smaller and smaller, that happens to a lot of people. Engaging with dilators, even using dildos, right? You can do it yourself. You don't need a doctor to do it for you. But it is the case that these muscles will continue to atrophy if they're starting to, and you don't do anything. So having some support in that way, and it doesn't need to be every day, but it's engaging that area of your body and stimulating blood flow. All of that is what's helping those tissues stay resilient.
I don't think you have to masturbate every day, though.
No.
You don't.
Who has time for that?
You don't have
Nobody.
the time.
That
You're
sounds
gonna be
so
fine.
exhausting.
You're gonna
Oh
be
my
fine.
God.
Also, don't forget your clitoris. Yeah. And your butt.
Your butt.
It just brings me so much joy. I just
If you
came
remember
here
anything,
to just really
if you
cause a
remember
lot of
anything
trouble.
this weekend, remember your butt.
Where are crafty breasties? Can we create a sticker for Ericka?
Yeah.
Do more butt stuff?
Set it free.
Safely. Any other questions?
All of us? Yeah, let's do it. My favorite sex toy is a magic wand. Tried and true, which you plug into the wall. The one you plug into the wall, not the one that you could charge. The one you plug into the wall has more power. Yes, you're kind of constrained by how far that plug is, but that is
We're going to
the
see you huddled in the
best.
corner near the outlet.
Yeah, the magic wand is the first sex toy, right? That's what they would use on essentially folks with vulvas and vaginas when they said that they have, what is it called? Why is it escaping me right now? Hysteria, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but all that was they weren't trying to have babies, right? Because they wanted to go to school, they wanted to be educated. And doctors were like, here, feel good. This feels good, right? Yeah, you put a vibrator on my clit. Yes, it feels good. But they were onto something when they created that. And now it's obviously morphed into something so much greater. Yeah. But tried and true, magic wand. What about y'all?
I 100% agree. I have both the magic one that plugs in, the big one, and I have the mini one too.
See?
So the mini one.
Travel size.
The mini one is travel size.
Travel
Yeah,
size
The
again.
mini one, not to point at you,
size
but
of
the
this
mini
mic-
one is.
But it is really the best because I've tried all of them and burned through them.
See?
Yeah, they die. So
They die. All you need is electricity.
I think a good old-fashioned magic wand can never hurt. I will also say with partner play, I love a cock ring.
Yeah, cock rings
A
are
vibrating
great.
cock ring, so fun.
They're great. They're great. You can also use a cock ring by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You just hold the ring. So it's just a ring, but like a ring, but it's bigger. So you can just hold it onto your clit. Right? And then it's small, also travel size. I keep pointing at my friend. So it can fit in your purse, right? So you don't need to use it for a cock. Yeah.
There are also, I'll just mention, because I know it's our CEO's favorite vibrator, shout out to Wendy Strigar, is a clitoral suction device.
So yes,
womanizers, the rose or the womanizer,
yeah.
the rose,
So
yeah.
These
They're
were
very
new to me.
popular. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's another way you could experience it as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone?
You want to answer?
Oh,
Oh, you too, Jamil. Yeah.
Me too. Oh, wow, there's so many.
Do we need to consult your suitcase?
I know, it's my carry-on, the extra carry-on. Let me think. I actually really love the, it's a little, the vibrator little necklace.
Oh, I have a
I
cabin
love
mate that
that.
just bought one at the canteen.
Yeah, they're selling them here?
Yes, they are.
Oh, I love the vibrator necklace. I have a vibrator ring too.
We've uplifted. We're here. We're uplifting.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Those are
We're
great.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? I don't know where Jamie's at.
The Friday something or other. Go check them out in the canteen.
Yeah.
What? Oh, Upstate Mary. Yes, that's right.
They're here. Yeah.
Yes.
Since no one else is asking, I'm going to ask another question. What do you recommend for porn that's focused on, I guess, empowering women and, really sexy consent? Like, I'm into all the romantasy novels, but I'm just curious. I am.
Fallon's going to talk to you about bookish breasties later.
No.
I talked
I'm
to
so
some
here
people
for
on
it.
the bus out here, and I can keep talking past that 4-hour. I'm just kidding, because I came from JFK, so it was like a 4-hour ride. But yeah, like sex. I don't know. Sex positive is a weird thing to say about porn, but like
Well, that exists.
No.
yeah, basically
absolutely.
something that I might feel comfortable watching with my husband without feeling bad about myself because I'm still working on loving my new body.
Yeah.
I think there's
Like,
a
is
couple
there sex without nipples?
that I don't know. Ericka, do you want to start one?
I would love to. I was actually asked to be in porn, but I turned it down.
Yeah.
I
have one.
had performance anxiety.
Yeah.
It's not cis het porn, so it's more queer affirming porn, but they have masturbation scenes with folks with various bodies. No one that I have seen has a visible disability, so I think that's different, but I swear by Crash Pad. It's behind a paywall. It's super duper, shout out to Crash Pad. It's super duper consent mindful. They're talking themselves through it. They're asking consent. It's stopping to put on barrier methods, whether it be a glove or a condom, right? It's just way more realistic. It's in like a bedroom that looks like a real bedroom. I think, and it's been around for a very long time, so they keep changing it. It's just not designed for like a cis het gaze, but that doesn't mean that you and your husband couldn't get down to it. It's hot regardless. Mm-hmm.
We'll also shout out Dipsy. They do, I believe their audiobooks are like kind of podcasts where it's just audio, so it's not, visual porn, but it's another thing that's kind of more female-centric.
Yeah.
There's like 18 more in my head, so if I could send somewhere so everybody can see.
Yeah.
These are all behind paywalls, because anything free is crap.
Exactly. 100%.
But it's important to pay sex workers, so that's a great thing to do.
That's a whole
but I
other-
can send it.
Please do.
As a resource.
That's older. And I will say one thing in regards to that too. There is a porn company that is owned by a woman, There's several actually out there, and her husband is the one that produces it, and so that because she was noticing that they were very not inclusive, and we'll make sure to get like a little list together of that, because that is a really component part, is making sure that people that want to be seen are seen in those spaces to feel good about their bodies, no matter what the space is that you're in particular in that area.
Yeah, make sure that you join the Sex and Intimacy group on the Breasties app, and we'll post it in there.
Yeah. Oh, there's a question.
I don't really have a question, but my thought is kind of like, can you make your own porn? And you might have some bad scenes that you don't love, but like, when you have a day that you're feeling really fucking hot, like, sometimes I really like that, sometimes I don't, but like, you can make your own porn that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I love that. Make your own porn. Go back and watch it.
I know, that's
I think
another
that's
sticker.
incredible.
Also important, consent there as well.
Yeah,
you
as
know,
long
make
as
sure
it's-
that
yeah.
you trust. Make sure you
It's just
trust
for
your
you.
partner that you're making this with, and make sure that all parties are consenting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, if anybody is a sports romance girly, there's a book called One Night Only, and the author is a breast cancer survivor in real life.
Oh,
So the FMC, the female main character, in the book is a woman in her mid-30s who went through chemo, had a mastectomy. Her fiance at the time left her, and she's seeing this younger guy, and her character talks a lot about intimacy in her body and her scars. And in the beginning of the book, they hook up, and she's not really comfortable, and she keeps her shirt on. And he is in the bookish world, we call it a consent king. He is a consent king, and like, touches her, and she pushes him off, and he's like, okay. And in his POV, in his point of view, he's like, I want her to know that she's sexy, but if that's not what she wants, I'm gonna respect her. So if anybody wants sports romance, One Night Only by Shan McPherson, it's really great.
Already ordered it last night after our bookish Breasties meetup.
You're welcome. I actually reached out to Shan, and she donated 2 copies of her book signed, so I gave them away last night. So come to me for all of your bookish smut slut needs. I am here for you.
Thank you, Fallon. We appreciate you. All right, well, I think if there's one more question.
One more
and
back
then-
there.
Yeah, thank you.
right over here.
The big, beautiful pink breastival set up over there, I see already.
I'm seeing all the hair and the
I
makeup
know.
done. I'm loving it. I'm very excited for later.
So behind.
So I am very recently happily divorced
Shout out. Congratulations.
Congrats.
and have found myself in a new relationship all of a sudden. How would you go about, like, this is probably more for Ericka maybe, but how would you go about talking to a new partner that you have had a mastectomy, and in my case, I've had reconstruction. I was fortunate I did get to save my nipples. They don't do anything. They're just there, but how would you go about, like, talking to someone about that, obviously, before you get intimate and take your shirt off, if you will?
Yeah, I will say that ideally before you get intimate, to have that conversation, and that is truly just to protect yourself. I don't know how people respond to things, and I don't want anybody to deal with someone being horrible in that case. So ideally before, and I would just say, hey, I've had a double mastectomy, right? I still enjoy, if you do, nipple play. I like my nipples to be stimulated, right? But I also have pain here, or sometimes it's a little tender on my arms because of lymphedema. I'm making all these things up. But actually like laying it out of what it is that feels good for you and doesn't. And then also inside of a consent conversation, always, we need to stop and, check in every once in a while, right? Maybe I need my hips elevated because I have a bit of hip pain because of chemotherapy, whatever it might be. So I think actually talking about these things, what it is that you need, but then also in the moment, checking in, I think is great. I think that's a great way to have that conversation. I hope that's helpful.
And I think Jamie, are there any more questions from anyone in the audience? I think Jamie's cutting us off. Okay, I think if you have any questions, please come up to us individually, and we'll be happy to answer anything that you have. And like Katie said, thank you for all being here.
y'all.
Appreciate it
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys.
Thank you. Enjoy playing with your butts
Yes.
safely.
Yes.